CSN has a very diverse student population. Students from every ethnicity and almost every country come here to Southern Nevada to get an education and improve their lives. Because most students at CSN are required to take a public speaking class, chances are very high that you will need to assist these students. While public speaking can be a challenge for anyone, students whose first language is not English face some additional challenges. They not only have to deal with the normal class requirements of coming up with topics, researching, outlining, and delivering effective speeches, they must do it in an unfamiliar language. This can add to the anxiety they already feel in a speaking situation. There also may be cultural concerns, such as making eye contact and source citation. When dealing with an international student, you may feel frustration because you aren't quite sure how to help them. The first and most important thing you need to do as a tutor is to imagine that you are in the same position as them. How would you feel if you were in a foreign country where you only had a basic command of the language and had to give a presentation to people from that country? You'd be intimidated. That's likely how the student feels. Compassion and understanding can forge a relationship with the student that can help you to help them more effectively. But let me give you some practical advice about what you can do to help international students be more effective speakers. Not all, but many foreign language speakers are actually excellent students who can put together a speech with little or no problem. Even though they may have language issues, they generally understand English, and you can usually understand them, although you may need them to repeat themselves. They may have the same issues any other student would have with the speech, but you can help them the same way you would help English-speaking students, and I'm not going to revisit all of that. If you need to, you can review all the other videos in this tutorial series. I'm going to focus on the main problems that international students face when creating speeches. The first one has to do with citation. Many international students are unfamiliar with the American emphasis on intellectual property, so the way we cite in America may not make sense to them. If you're helping them put together an outline for a speech that requires research and a bibliography, check to see if they have cited their work in the text of the outline and that their bibliography is properly formatted. You want to help them avoid plagiarism, but if they're not sure what that is, you may need to explain it to them. You can catch a lot of potential plagiarism by asking them, where did you get this example, statistic, or quote? Outlining can be a problem for all students, but for many international students, they can follow a format if they're given a good example or an outline template. Because of language issues, international students try very, very hard to get things right, and may take things a bit too literally, to the point where they copy exactly what's in the example outline and just change the words to fit their topic. Make sure they understand that they need to make the outline reflect their ideas, not just copy what they see. Once the student has completed the outline, they need to start working on delivering the speech. For the majority of international students, the temptation to simply read their speech from the outline is very strong. They're already intimidated by the thought of getting up in front of people and talking, but doing it in an unfamiliar language is often overwhelming, and they may think that they need the security of a complete sentence outline to read from. So you need to assure them that they can deliver it without reading it word for word. Here's what I found to be effective for international students. Yes, let them start by actually reading the speech from the outline. They need to be familiar with the flow of the speech, and they need to actually verbalize all of the words they have written to see how they sound in real life. They can read the speech to you, or record it in the whisper room, and you can review it with them. In either case, you'll be making a list of things you need to review with them, and I'll tell you what those things are in just a moment. Afterwards, ask them what they thought was good about the speech and what they think they need to work on the most. You want to have them think about the speech in a positive way, even if they do have a lot to work on. Then you're going to focus on 4 specific areas of feedback. These are accent, rate, grammar, and transitions. For accent, include aspects of pronunciation, stress on words, and intonation that seriously interferes with intelligibility. Point out key words that are habitually mispronounced. Don't try to correct every single word. Maybe you can help them choose a different word that means the same thing but is easier for them to pronounce. For rate, students are often unaware when they either speak so fast that it makes comprehension difficult or so slow that it's distracting. Does their speech fit into the time requirements? Point that out to them. For grammar, focus only on syntactic mistakes that seriously distort or confuse meaning, such as words out of order, leaving out major sentence elements, things like that. And for transitions, they're often left out. So please help the student understand why transitions are necessary and where to insert them. Remember, don't try to fix everything at once. Alerting the student to all their errors is ineffective and overwhelming for them. They may think, I've got so much to work on, I'll never get it right. What you want to point out are the most important things that, if the student fixes them, will aid the audience in understanding them better. Now you need to help them prepare their speaking notes. As I said before, due to apprehension about their lack of English skills, ESL students will often attempt to read the speech from the outline. They may also try to memorize the whole thing. Neither of these is particularly effective. They often are less comprehensible when they're reading than when they're holding a conversation, so help them to understand the difference, and they may begin to grasp the idea of extemporaneous speaking. Tutors can help students decide which words and phrases will best help keep them on track and then create their note cards. As far as visual aids go, helping these students understand that effective visual aids can bridge the gap of understanding and get their message across can go a long way to making them more effective speakers. These students usually need more practice time to help them become familiar with the flow of words in their speech and to wean themselves off the outline and rely more on their note cards. Encourage them to set aside practice time daily and to come to the lab often to practice with the tutor. Certain cultural norms can make eye contact difficult for some ESL students. Gentle encouragement in this area can help them overcome their reluctance to look at the audience. International students can be extremely effective speakers if they learn to face and overcome these challenges. Encourage them to practice, and don't forget to celebrate their victories with them.